liberty, and justice for all.
Do we want to have any retired preachers that want to give the opening prayer?
Well, as you know, the opening prayer will be the minute of reflection so that we can all think about the things that we can do for the betterment of our entire community. Let us take a moment to reflect on what we can do as a unit for all the people in our community. We ask for help in allowing us to do what we can for the best of our community and try to keep everyone's opinions and feelings utmost in our mind for the betterment of our community. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call.
Ms. Nguyen?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Clement?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Sonic? Mr. Booth? Mrs. Flowers?
Here.
Motion to excuse both Mr. Booth and Mrs. Sonic.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Minutes from the last regular meeting. Anybody have any corrections they want to make?
Yes, Mr. President. Under citizens' comments, Mr. Sherman made a comment, and it's reflected in the minutes here that it said he also objected to people. Actually, instead of people, it should be my name. He said my name specifically, and I'd like to see that added.
Okay.
Any objection from anyone to correcting that? His notes? Then the clerk will then correct them.
Okay.
So I need a motion to approve the corrected minutes.
Motion to approve corrected minutes.
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
We had a legal opinion by Mr. Rowe that we really should have approved the December 4th meeting minutes. So instead of going through all the legal opinion, I suppose everybody got it. Instead of reading the legal opinion, I'd entertain just a motion to approve the December 4th minutes.
I never got a copy of the legal opinion.
I didn't either.
You want to explain it to him?
Sure. So there are two separate issues with the December 4th. One is whether it was properly noticed or called. Second issue is whether there need to be minutes given a de facto meeting. I looked at it after the regular meeting in December, and my read of the public record, or the open meeting sunshine laws is even if there's an improperly called meeting, you still need to have minutes of whatever was discussed. A silly example would be, what if all 7 members of council happened to be shopping at Kroger at the same time and all were at the cereal aisle? You met and then you started talking about the city business. Even though that wouldn't be a properly called meeting, there would still be a separate legal duty to have minutes reporting on the discussion point. So in my opinion, the two issues are separate. Whether there are minutes approved has no bearing whatsoever on whether the meeting was properly called or not. Regardless of whether it was properly called or not, there still needs to be a report of whatever discussion was to be had. So my recommendation is that minutes be adopted, but they need to be accurate, including the fact that there was a meeting, but it wasn't called to order. There wasn't a motion to adjourn, and then accurately reflect the substance of.
All I said was they met, but it wasn't called to order. That's all I said.
Okay, and it's council's duty to make sure that those minutes are accurate, and if they are accurate, they should be approved, in
The minutes say that we met, but it wasn't called to order. That's what the minutes say.
So I would recommend, Mr. President, that we just wait till the next meeting to approve them. If all of us can get a copy of the legal opinion and then a copy of the minutes, which I think I did get a copy of those minutes, so yeah. So, and then, we can-
Well, if, or that, or we could,
Well, Tom, is it okay if I just forward to them? I think I sent you
Yes.
the email, I'll just forward.
Just do, I have to do that, or you can do that.
yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is, I think we've already taken a vote on those minutes, and I think we voted it down.
well, I'm just,
I don't think the,
yeah, I think we did vote it down, but here's the thing. If you go to the Attorney General's site and you take the sunshine, it is plain as day that you have to have the minutes. Now,
That's fine, we just discussed that, I'm just stating a point, I think we've already also voted it down, so we'll just need
well,
to
we just
discuss
have
it
to
at
have
the
a
next
motion to
meeting.
change it and approve them, that's all.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the next meeting, that's not a big.
I don't have any problem with the next meeting,
I don't either.
No, that'll work.
so that's fine.
Yeah, we can table it till.
So we'll table those minutes till the January 22nd meeting, and let's have a roll call vote on that.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Ms. Lynn,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Clement.
Yes.
Citizens' comments. You can be first.
Well, I've got one that I didn't know I had before. How many people at Kroger's constituted? Can it just be two? I mean, I'm serious.
A quorum? Yeah, okay.
Actually, two members of the same committee can be a quorum.
Oh, because that's 2 out of 3, I
Yeah,
understand
of a
that.
subcommittee, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just have a real quick thing because I did go to the police and fire meeting, and it was also brought up at that meeting about the city attorney position, and nothing really came of anything there. But what I did is I printed out for everybody there and anybody here that wants it, the information that is in the not the bylaws. Charter for the city about the city attorney. It's 6.05 Department of Law, and I just think that we should all know what we're talking about when we do. So everybody has a copy of that. You all can look at a copy. I will pass this, but all you have to do is go to the charter and look it up, because he has to be appointed by the city manager, subject to approval by a majority vote of city council. And then the other thing is the city attorney shall serve as the chief legal advisor to the council, the city manager, and all city departments, divisions, offices, and other agencies and boards or commissions. Those are just the things I thought was important for everybody to really have an idea about. That's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Daniel Sherman, 317 Fort Street. I would like to get a copy or a summary of what Rita actually brought in income tax versus what the city of Nelsonville has brought in pre-COVID for income tax, and compare the two and see if it was even worth the money that was laid out for the fees. So if we can get that, I'd appreciate that, and see what the actual fees were versus what we actually collected.
Thank you. That was actually going to be one of the things I was going to bring up, so I appreciate that.
Well, we're gonna get a finance committee meeting, hopefully before the 16th. And we'll explore that at the finance committee meeting.
Hi, I'm Alexa Ross, 763 Poplar Street. I see two big problems in Nelsonville: too many cats and not enough trees. At a previous meeting, I heard a comment that the council was doing something about the stray cat population explosion, and I wonder where I could find any details of what is being done.
I believe that was the fellow from the Humane Society.
No, that was Neil.
Oh, yeah.
Neil came up with a plan to work with the Humane Society, where they would come and capture the cats, fix them, take care of them, and then release them. They would still be released, but they would be fixed. At a cost, I think, was like $50 per cat. But the issue was where the funds were gonna come from. And that was talked about at the previous council, before this council took over. So that is something that I do wanna look into, because it is very important. And you're right, there's ridiculous amount of stray
Yeah.
cats out there.
It is very inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's something we have Neil come to the finance committee meeting and we can talk about where we're at.
Actually, the Planning and Development Committee, I got it on my list to look
That'd
at
be
that
fine,
too.
either one, that, we can put it in
Yeah.
planning development in.
Yeah,
I
That will-
thought-
and also the pigeon issue,
Right,
those, both of those issues.
well, that's fine, planning development. But maybe we could find some money to, it is very inhumane. And when you see some of these poor animals out in the middle of rain and whatever, and they just keep breeding and causing more cats. So if there's a way is there a way to eventually help that situation by sterilizing the females or the males both, it might be a plan. I don't think there's anything else legally you can do.
I think it would be a long-term plan if we did it that way.
But I don't think there's anything else legally that you
Oh,
can do.
no, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm pretty sure it was said also that wherever they captured them, they had to be released in the same spot.
Right.
That's a law.
Yeah, so
So
they
we'll-
will be
yep.
releasing them back here.
So we'll have to bring it back up in committee. Rita's point of, she's correct, like we had that on the last council, and since council's transition, we haven't had that discussion since, so we haven't actually moved forward on that. So I think that'll happen in future discussions.
If you watch, it'll be in the planning development committee. If you watch, you're welcome to come attend and comment and be part of that meeting.
Well, about the trees, you all know that we lose trees every day, and big trees are scheduled to come down, and they are not being replaced. I brought this issue up years ago as part of the tree commission, but we don't have any money for that. But thanks to Taylor, I think there's more money than there was in the past, or money was recovered, so I'd like to know if there's any way to support all these areas.
They'll just have you cutting down again.
I beg your pardon?
I've got the code enforcer having me cut a tree down, so. Not sure if,
You want to put that in committee too.
Or
Or
something
just
like
assign that to
What
the
trees are you
same
talking
committee
about?
so you can discuss that
What
on.
trees?
individual trees?
Well, you say there's trees coming down everywhere. I was just wondering if you.
Well, John Hartley mentioned several old trees that he knows that are coming down soon. Even if you had something that you cut down a tree, plant 3 more somewhere.
Right.
Because, you know, this country used to be beautiful with elms, we had diseases, and you should know that trees lessen crime, improve the climate, the weather, make everybody feel better, and provide habitat for wildlife, birds. You love birds, and you have a green lawn with nothing but grass that supports nothing. So,
So you're talking about the trees in the city?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe because we're surrounded by a forest, we
That's-
think we
yes.
don't need any trees. But trees have a great deal to do with
I agree.
beauty, health, mental health,
I
and
agree.
everything else.
I agree.
I had to guess the one he's talking about's over by the castle. Because when that project comes through, that sidewalk project, once it starts, the way it's designed, that the one closest to the corner is gonna come out.
I know they heave sidewalks. There's one,
Well, maybe,
By
yeah, maybe they
Kroger that
could
went
replant
down.
if they do that. Can they do that? Okay, yes. Thank you.
just like to suggest,
Yeah, thank you.
keeping
Thank
an
you.
eye on
I got it, go ahead. Get it over, go ahead. All right, anybody else want to do citizens' comments?
Mr. President, one point to that, there have, in the last couple of years, there have been several federal court cases that have pretty significantly restricted the ability of municipalities to regulate trees. So when that's, municipalities can do certain regulations, just these court cases are limiting the ability to regulate. So whenever this is discussed in committee, that those legal issues should be worked out so we don't wind up.
Right, right.
So we're not talking about forcing someone to take a tree out, though. Is that where the federal law comes in, though?
No, it's more limiting than that, basically saying unless, the safest thing is for the city to bear the entire costs of tree planting. But short of that, the city, if it's going to require private entities to plant trees, would have to provide some sort of fair compensation.
Well, I could see where we would pay for trees for other people to plant. I couldn't see where we would ever require somebody to go plant a tree. I mean, we might.
Sure. Right.
So I don't think there's really gonna be a problem with you, Greg. Okay. Anybody else want to make a citizen comment? Business and organizational comments? Committee?
I apologize. My sister's class of 67, they planted all of the trees around the levee over at the ballpark because the trees that are there are so old that some of the branches had started to drop off. The big trees are still standing, but they replaced them with the same kind of trees that are still there. And I know that Wayne National Forest, I cannot think of her name, she has, and I'm sure Alexis. Okay, I apologize. I'm sure that she knows how to contact her. They'll give us free trees, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen you work with Ann before. Ann Bonner. And I couldn't think of her name. So there are ways, if we had a committee, for people who were interested in just talking about it and then maybe coming up with a plan.
At one time, Ann Bonner was on our tree commission. I don't know if that's still.
I'm guessing that she might still be.
Yeah. But we'll put that in committee and let committee work on it. And if there's a way that we can buy people's trees to plant, I think we can do that. I don't think we can pass any regulations telling people they have to plant a tree on their property. The other thing you brought up there is the sycamore trees on the levee. FEMA's been asking us to remove them for years because they're afraid that a storm will take a tree down and the root ball will compromise the levee. So it was good that they planted those trees. But we probably are going, in the next year or two, we're probably going to have to look at taking those big sycamore trees down because they're a danger to everybody's property inside of Nelsonville.
They did that, in regard to, that was the 50th
Right,
year of us
yeah.
winning the state baseball championship.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to committee discussions. Johnny, you're up. I think you're the only one that had a meeting.
Well, yes, we did have a meeting and we discussed, we discussed the police, take-home policy for the vehicles for their officers. And we also discussed the purchasing of 2, I believe, vehicles. We pretty much, I think, through yourself, Mr. President, I think we kind of got those 2 issues.
Well, you're going to have to meet again to develop the actual policy because the city manager and I agreed that it would stop until council come up with a policy and full council okayed it.
Okay.
So you're going to have to meet again to come up with that policy.
Okay.
And put down the parameters and everything, and then bring that to council. And if you can get it done before the 22nd, that would be
Yeah,
good.
I will, yeah.
Okay, so. Any other committees? Department updates.
I'll go first. So for the month of December, we had 342 calls for service, conducted 83 traffic stops, issued 33 citations, traffic citations that is. Did 20 parking citations, issued 9 different trespasses, did 8 traffic crashes, made 14 criminal arrests, and 15 warrant arrests. As well, I got us certified in Group 2 through the Ohio Collaborative. So now we're following state best practices for body camera policies, as well as community relations. And I've also been working on getting classes scheduled for all our officers to attend throughout the year, focusing on interview, evidence collection, and some tactical training.
I have a question as far as your body cam policy.
Mhm.
Hocking County had the mute button removed from their cameras. When they go on a call, they have to run. Now, what I see in 149.43 says if there's a private discussion between police officers that doesn't do with the call, that you can redact that before you turn it out. So I'd like for you to look at that policy of not being able to mute, because you can still look at it and you can still redact certain things. That's the 149.43, the open records law, actually gives a list of everything that you can, I think there's like 16 items on that you can actually redact. But I think it would be better policy if the chief and the city manager had the ability to look at the full body cam, and then if there's certain things that you're legally allowed to redact, you go ahead and redact them before you release it. But I think it's better policy than allowing someone to hit a button and stop something that's happening. So I would just ask that you look into that.
Yeah, I can't recall the specifics on what it says about that off the top of my head.
It's 149.43 lists the 16 things that you can redact. And one of them is if there's just a private conversation between 2 police officers, and that's all it is, you're allowed to look at it and say, well, it had nothing to do with the call, and you can redact it. So look at that and see what policy, because I think it'd be a lot better if supervision had a way to look at something that wasn't actually not recorded in the first place. And then it'd make your investigations and complaints a lot easier too, because you can look at it and say, no, I got the full body camera here, it didn't happen. So, anybody else?
All right, I'll give the fire department update real quick. So since the last update, again, we're still partnering with Red Cross for smoke alarm installs. These must be installed again by the firefighters on duty with appropriate paperwork through Red Cross that's completed, because this is a grant program and this is how Red Cross actually replaces their alarms. Grants that are currently in process were awarded is the BWC Firefighters Environmental Elements Exposure Grant, which is a 5-to-1 matching for bunker gear. That gear was ordered. It's in process right now. It takes quite a while now to get bunker gear, so we're still waiting on that, but that was a grant for 23. Safety intervention grant that was written for vehicle extrication equipment and stabilization equipment. That money has to be, it's in the account. That fund transfer went through in 23. We'll have to wait for that money to be appropriated as new money. The 2024 State Fire Marshal's Marks grant was approved. We have not received that electronic fund transfer yet, but that's going to be for the purchase of additional Marks pagers in the amount of $16,940. So that's 3 grants right now that have been awarded that I'm working on. Currently working on an additional equipment grant to the State Fire Marshal's office, but I have not got that one submitted yet. Events that have taken place since the last council meeting are as follows. The fire department, the fire department between emergency responses set up all the snowflake Christmas lights on the square. Utility crews set up all the Santa houses, the Christmas houses, they have together. We'll be taking those down this week, probably we're thinking maybe Wednesday or Thursday.
We were shooting for Wednesday, but I'd say with the weather tomorrow, they're not gonna get it
It's
right.
supposed to rain, you guys, all day tomorrow and also
Yes,
snow.
that's why we're not gonna do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
We had our annual Jim Conrad Christmas toy giveaway. We were able to interact with approximately 200 children that came in. We got to see Santa Claus, get their pictures taken, and pick out a Christmas present. The annual Christmas basket program, this year was the 75th year of that program. We were able to help 150 families in need. The fire department's annual breakfast, which took place on the 2nd, which would have been the same day as the regular Snowflake Parade, which it also is the annual lighting of the tree. They did the fountain this year. And the annual fire department Santa Parade, that's the parade that we started during COVID, when we had a lot of people that were afraid to come out of their homes. So we did the Santa Parade all through town, and seeing the people out, seeing the people waiting at their doors, we decided to keep that event going. Additionally, since the last meeting, we've had 2 structure fires, one being a mutual aid fire in Hocking County. The other fire on Christmas morning turned out to be an arson fire. Through cooperation and collaboration with my department, the marshal's office, the Nelsonville Police Department, and the prosecutor's office, we actually had a suspect apprehended within hours, and we have a truth verdict for an indictment today, so that person will be indicted. And in addition to on-duty training that's logged per shift, we often train outside the department when we have the opportunity for different training events. Myself and firefighter Dunn will be attending counterterrorism operations support, radiation, and contamination training on January 23rd. That's going to be a half-day class in Fairborn, Ohio, which is close to Xenia. So that's a good opportunity. And we had 2 seats available in the state, and I was able to get myself and one of my firefighters in that class. And this year, we'll be finishing up training and testing, obtaining an additional certification. This certification will be a certified fire investigator. This is separate from fire safety inspector. So I also do the investigations on all the fires in the city of Nelsonville to determine cause and origin. This just adds to that, the certifications I have. That's all I've got.
Here, I have a question. If your department, and this is just a possibility, our rental code requires that smoke alarms, that carbon monoxide detectors, and that fire extinguishers be in every rental. And would your department be able to handle just, some sort of program of attempting to find out if residents had those safety items?
It's possible. I don't know how.
The only way you can possibly do is to knock on the door and ask. You can't force your way in.
Right, which is sort of an issue, and I'm not sure how
Go ahead.
complete that process would be, just given the emergency calls that we have.
I'm just asking if you had the personnel to be, if.
I definitely do not have the person.
The code enforcement officer and I have come up with some sort of an idea. Because of course, eventually we'll want to raise rates on permits, but we were going to offer some sort of a bonus program where people could self-inspect, send photos in, and do whatever to make sure those were compliant with what the president here just said. And then we could take it from there, because we're not properly staffed to be able to do that. So it would be a good program.
And we've also done, it's just like the fire safety inspection.
Sure.
I do annuals on all commercials, and if somebody is a tenant and they want me to check something for them, they have made a request for me to come in and check something. Even people that own apartments have told me to come in to make sure things are set up correctly. Now, that being said, and I know we do not have the manpower and the resources to be able to go out and try to inspect all the rentals in the city to make sure they're compliant with the current code.
No, I'm just interested in safety, if possible, the safety items, even if we got a bunch of smoke alarms and was giving them away. I just want to make sure, and this has nothing to do with your last fire, but we're darn lucky we didn't have a fatality there.
Well, the problem with the city giving out smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors is the city also has a code written, I helped you guys write that, that says that those people that own a rental have to provide those.
Exactly.
Correct,
So if
correct.
they have to provide
Right.
those and we start handing them out, they're not going to comply.
So that's
Yeah.
part of
Go
code
ahead.
enforcement.
Greg wants to talk.
Yeah, so the Planning Development Committee, I have on our list to review rental inspections and our inspection code.
Okay. I was just asking Harry why he was here to see if there was a possibility to start dealing with the safety issue first and then other issues later. And it's just a question I had so everybody involved could try to work something out where you know, basic needs of anybody is if you have a gas furnace, you need carbon dioxide, you know, and if you have, otherwise you need smoke detectors and a fire extinguisher. So, and that is in the code and required for all rentals. So, I was just looking at ways we might be able to enforce it. The other thing, we got a letter, and I don't want the landlord to be named in the letter because it hasn't been investigated. But I would like to tell that person that he needs to come to the city building and either see the code enforcement officer or Tom and file a complaint. Because there's a complaint process in the rental code. And I don't want to read a landlord's name and there's never been a complaint and an investigation made and the results of that investigation. So the person that wrote that letter, if you're watching, please come to the code enforcement officer or Tom and file your complaint. Now I want to make one other thing clear for every other person that rents in the city of Nelsonville. There is a complaint process and it starts at the code enforcement officer. And we really can't give the code enforcement officer or Tom the devil for something that he hadn't been told about. So if you have a complaint, please come to the office and make your complaint. Tom will call somebody to investigate it and get a result. So you did, Jonathan, do you disagree with anything I said there?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Based on the information available to me, there's nothing the city can do going forward, but maybe there's more information.
Well, we do have a rental code on it.
Right, so
Yeah.
that, and like you said, there's a process for processing complaints.
You're right, so.
I've got a question for the fire chief,
Yeah.
please. Chief, how many fire alarms have you actually installed now with the Red Cross, with that program? How many have you been able to? And this is not the first year you've done that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Probably around ballpark 150.
Okay.
Maybe-
Just this
maybe
year or
200.
since the program's been around?
Since the program started. So the first year we did this, we actually partnered with Red Cross and went door to door knocking on doors, installing smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms. Then we started doing everything ourselves. And now when I go through that cache of smoke detectors, I can contact Red Cross and actually get more.
Okay. And is there, like, can they contact you at the fire department? Okay.
Yeah, they need to contact the fire department and not Red Cross.
Okay.
And then when I run out, I can get them to them.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for?
Yeah.
Okay, Justin.
The demo at the old sewer plant is complete. There's still some dirt needs moved around, but it is complete. The new wastewater treatment plant, all the new furniture has been delivered. So hopefully soon we can have our ribbon cutting ceremony down there. Plaques been hung, and all the small stuff's been done. We've had 15 meter pit issues, including some on the phase 3 water project, which includes old meter setters, leaking gaskets, old meters that still needed changed that weren't changed over to the new meters. We've had various call outs for rainwater being mistaken as water leaks. With the rain we have, the old mines fill up and water finds its way out, and it does look like water leaks in quite a few places. There's been 25 stop bars put down by our crews, which are they're heat applied thermoplastic and they're reflective. They're very expensive, but they last years. We didn't put those on Canal Street. with Canal Street gonna be being tore up, it was a waste of money, but everywhere where there's new asphalt in the town, they've been applied at stop signs. We've had 7 leaks on 4-inch water mains, 1 leak on an 8-inch water main, 9 leaks on 1-inch services, and 1 leak on a 6-inch main. The new F-350 dump truck is in service. The truck that was used for water, that we always used, has been moved to street, and the street department of water, or dump truck, is ready to go to auction. It's rusted up really bad and the frame's rusted on it, so we couldn't use it for salting anymore. And we did also got a new John Deere 35 mini hoe that's in service, and we're keeping the Kubota 17 also because it's a small machine that can fit in through gates and stuff. If we need to get in somewhere tight, the old Kubota can still fit in. In 2019, me and the guys were talking about this today. In 2019, the overtime back there was $24,556.96 for the year. Last year, we had it down to $5,525 for the utility department.
That's a savings.
I have a question.
Well, go ahead.
You said you just purchased a new,
Last year.
last year, as in
Last month.
last month?
No, they were purchased the dump truck was purchased around the beginning of December, and the mini hoe was purchased in October. It was money that was encumbered last year for those purchases.
So those purchases were approved by council?
The money that was in the budget, that was encumbered, was approved by council for those purchases, yes.
And you said you bought the dump truck in December, in the beginning of December?
Last year's budget, not this year's. It was already passed by council in the budget.
Okay.
Were they paid for last year?
How much did you all spend?
The dump truck was $63,000 and the track hoe was $64,000. And we had the boom mower went down and it's obsolete, it's old, it's hard to find parts for it. So with the track hoe, we got a ditching bucket so we can clean ditches because we didn't have that prior. And we got the mower for it, so it can be used as the boom mower also.
So how much total was spent on those items?
130.
So that was included in the price of that equipment, having the 2 additions to it?
Bless you.
First reading. Ordinance 021, all introduced it.
An ordinance instructing the city manager to seek bids from garbage and recycling companies to establish a franchise for those services. Whereas the city of Nelsonville's trash hauling contracts are about to expire, and whereas the citizens of Nelsonville have greatly benefited in service and price by granting trash and recycling contracts for those services. Now therefore be ordained by the council of the city of Nelsonville that the city manager is hereby instructed to issue bids for those services. This ordinance shall be in effect at the earliest date provided by law, duly enacted by council on second reading the 22nd day of January 2024.
Citizens' comments first.
Those were the companies that a few months back came in here and talked to us.
It would be any company that,
Not only those, but anybody.
anybody that wanted
Okay.
to bid on it, and
Okay.
and it gives us to the 22nd to make a decision.
Okay.
And at that point, we're running out of time and we need to have bids. So it gives us to the 22nd. This is not on emergency or suspension of the rules or anything. It's just allowing council to discuss it, take public comment about what they would like with trash and then for us to be able to move forward on the 22nd. So. City manager's report.
Mr. President, it doesn't say, but the contract expires March 31st of '24, so this is kind of a
I know.
issue that needs resolved.
I know if it's council's pleasure, we could put a suspension of the rules, an emergency on it, if that was council's pleasure, but 1, 2, 3. It'd take a unanimous vote. And if that's council's pleasure, I'm open to it.
When we post the RFP out there, what time frame do we normally give for them to give bids back?
I don't know what we've done in the past, but we can go anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 days and then start the process. And we'll have everything in place by the time the contract expires. And we can always extend our contract 60 to 90 days currently with Athens Hockey and Recycling. And there's issues going around about that whole debacle. And I've had permission to put out the bid so far, but I have not until I got further clarification. Because there's another situation going on in our county about a COG, Council of Governments. Very interesting proposal I heard this morning. And so I'm just taking all that information in, and we'll be discussing it with all the committees and council further about what we want to do with this.
We have till the 22nd to make up our mind.
Yes. So there's been a lot of different factors that have been introduced into this bid process, okay, that we have to be careful with, because once this bid process starts, we have to abide by the bid process.
I know.
And,
I don't think we have to accept any bid. All we'll be doing is getting prices.
okay,
I think we can
do that too.
Yeah, we can decide that we're not gonna take any of the bids and do whatever. I just think it's a good idea to find out what the financials are on it.
Okay. Well, I'll adjust the RFP accordingly then.
Yeah, it is,
Yes.
we can accept or deny any of the bids. There's been times in the past where we rebid stuff over because we didn't like what we got.
Okay.
So there's,
Okay.
all this does in effect is gets us the prices of what we're dealing with and lets us make informed decisions on whatever we're gonna do.
So we're gonna do an exploratory type request for proposal. We'll talk further about that. Okay.
Correct. That's my thoughts on it. Anybody else have any?
Yes, so the contract expires March 31st. We can say we want to extend it, but that doesn't mean the current hauler has to abide by that, or do they?
I'm unclear about that. I'll get clarification for that.
I think if we move by the 22nd of January, that gives us all of February to get bids and we'll be able to make a decision.
Okay.
Do anybody have any problem with that?
No, not at all, but just word of caution, as we know, our neighbors down the road have had a lot of issues with theirs, so.
They have.
Mhm.
They have.
Yes, I wanted to speak up in support of Athens Hockey Recycling Facility.
Okay. And I want to hear it. Go
That's
ahead.
such a huge investment.
Yes.
I recycle this much and throw away this much, but my neighbors, I'd be surprised if they recycle it all. But I read, how the Athens residents wanted to keep Athens Hockey.
Yes.
And not this Rumpke that could raise their prices after eliminating their competition. And I wonder if this Council of Government scheme, if Nelsonville would be able to participate in that, or that's another workaround.
The other thing, the other side of that is how much every resident's gonna pay. And if we're going to do something, we have to see what Rumpke would do that thing, or what anybody else that bid on it would do that for. And then we have to make a decision. We have more than half our residents under the poverty level. So we can't be going, well, this company will do it for $16 a month, but we're gonna run off and do something that costs $30 a month. We have a duty to the citizens. If we're gonna force them to take a service, which a franchise does, we have a duty to them to come in with a decent price. And that's the only reason over the years that we took a franchise, because right now, currently, I think we got the best deal in trash that's walking. I mean, far as price. And Rumpke has an office right here in Nelsonville. They store their trucks right here in Nelsonville. They have employees right here in Nelsonville. And they own the dump. So we have to give them a chance to say, how much will this cost us? And then if we want to do something else, we're making informed decisions on what the costs are. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just also to point two, we will continue to recycle still.
Oh, yes.
Regardless
absolutely.
of trash haulers, we'll still be having that curbside.
I think Athens Hawking, that recycle will stay in place.
As far as I understand that, yes.
Yeah.
As far as I understand.
And currently Rumpke does take their,
Yeah.
everything in this area
Yes.
to them
Yeah.
for recycling. so.
Right.
And the bid will have recycling in the bid. I mean,
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean.
Curbside too.
Yeah, curbside, and maybe even providing a container, I mean, you know. So we have to put the bids out there and see what we got. The last time, we got bids all the way from some company up in.
Say that again? I didn't hear.
I thought we were saving money to buy all of us a container.
Yes, we're gonna we're gonna give you that information too, yes. There's a lot of different things that have been interjected into this equation here lately. And he said the key thing, what is it gonna cost us?
My thing is, this company that we have now compared to who we had before,
Yeah,
I don't feel I'm getting the service that I got.
okay.
I could
hear
put
that.
anything out there. I travel for my job, so some weeks it may be a half a bag.
Sure.
The next week
Well,
it
that-
may be 7 bags. You know,
what
but
committee
I
wants to
can't
take
put
this?
7
Utility?
bags out there right now. They leave a bag behind.
We need to
Okay.
have.
So-
Yeah, Nancy's on utilities, she won't be available till the week of the 15th, because they're going to Mayor's Court training. So Nancy's the chair of the utility committee. Who else is on it? Anyway,
I'm not, I has to be honest.
if we want to put it in a different committee, I'm up for that too, if everybody wants to do that.
Well, I should be under utilities.
Utility is Nancy's the chair, Mr. Flowers, and Miss Nguyen.
Okay, well, we'll get Nancy to call a meeting.
Sure.
I'll talk to her in the morning about getting a meeting on that, and we can everybody that's interested can come to the committee meeting, express their opinion, say what they want, and that's the purpose of having the public be able to comment.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
Along the lines of what Amber was talking about, I have a question on the overage. For the last, 2 years we've been paying. The actual trash pickup is like $10 and something. And there's an overage on top of that. And I've been trying to find out where that money is.
It's in a fund, it's in a line item. It's about,
Well, can we see it?
$57,000 right now.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, it's in the budget.
It's in the 730 sanitation fund, so I can also send you
Yeah, please.
cash statement. But in the auditor's reports, which you'll have the first at the next meeting for your term, just look for that 730 fund. It's called the sanitation fund, and I'll point it out too.
Okay. Well, if it's only $50-some thousand, we've been doing this for 2 years.
It's $1.56 a customer is what it is.
I'm not gonna be more than that.
Well, that's what it is. It's
Okay. All right,
So,
thank you.
So, all I'm saying is there'll be a committee meeting made. Everybody that has a comment to make on it, go to the committee meeting, let the committee people do their work, and we'll move on to city manager's report.
Okay, and thank you for letting me talk to you about the trash service here in town, and there's more to come about that, so. And let me just be very brief with this one. Code enforcement mainly is the main topic today, because 515 permits were issued in the month of December, creating a revenue of $17,545. And that was enough to keep the code enforcement officer busy, and thank goodness there was no other requests due, and There was very little interruption, so that was very much a success. And on total, from the last 2 months, I didn't have that recorded here, close to 700 permits have been issued for rental properties. Next category, had a wonderful discussion with Brent Adams about the Eagles building. And it's all public knowledge now because we can read it everywhere, but it's over a $4 million project. It's gonna bring a wonderful, kind of like a mini hotel, basically, situation to our town with different other amenities, and I'll let you read through that. Currently, they're cleaning up the building, if you haven't noticed, basically, and kind of boarded up certain sections to keep out our pigeons we've talked about. Moving on to projects, Jason already touched on the wastewater treatment plant, and we're planning on having the ribbon cutting ceremony probably, I'd say toward the end or middle of February. And we're just about ready for that. And Jason also touched on the old sewer plant. We have just a little more debris to remove, and we'll be ready to move on with the new dog park. Any questions about any of that? Yes, ma'am.
They were talking the last time about what kind of plaque was going to be used, and there was some discussion about the two different prices. Has that been decided? Bronze or the aluminum?
I think that was voted on, that's a done deal.
Yeah, I think so. And,
yeah.
Oh, change order, okay.
Right.
Thank
That's
you.
correct. Thank you. That's correct.
That it?
That's it, Brett.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we get a Mayor's Court 2023 performance report?
Sure,
How Mayor's Court did for all of last year?
we can do that. Wouldn't be hard to look at.
Okay, and also, we've talked before, our boards and commissions are very lacking in members. And Planning and Development Committee, I've got a lot of items, and we truly need a planning commission brought back up to full 5 members.
Okay.
But also, I think most of the boards and commissions are lacking in members. So I don't know what we can do to bring that up, but
As in civil service commissions, all that.
all of them.
Okay.
And I think we're gonna need a civil service exam coming up, so we're gonna get
Have we got enough people to do the exam?
I think there's 2 members. I
Okay.
think we need, what, 1 more?
Well, if all the people that watch this meeting and write newspaper articles about it after they watch it, if they would put in their articles that we are seeking people to seek on boards. And if you're interested if you're interested in being on one of the boards, either contact Susan, or to contact Tom and let them know that you'd like to be on the board and give your name and address, and we'll try to find a place to put you. You're volunteering?
No, I'm.
She raised her hand.
Yeah, she raised her hand. She's on the board.
The old military thing.
No, thank you. My only question is, a lot of the times, the nice thing that comes out is when the meetings, it lists the boards and what the members with a brief synopsis of what it is, and it's on my Facebook, and I can read it there or somewhere.
Well, we'll attempt to do that maybe by the next meeting. Tom can find out who's on what and what we need.
Okay.
I haven't been here long enough to know, what's.
But a lot of the things that come out like that are very, very good to help make decisions.
Okay.
Well, the Civil Service Board is a very powerful board, and you have same way with the Planning Commission. Nelsonville Council cannot pass an ordinance having to do with those things without the Planning Commission making the recommendation first and presenting council with the ordinance. So if you're really interested in straightening up things and making things work right, there's some very powerful positions you can have, and we're begging for people to come want to take them. So again, you reporters that's watching this meeting, please put that in your article.
Yeah. Also, will there be an ordinance coming through to purchase the cruisers that's been discussed?
Yeah, I thought that was coming this meeting, but
I thought I had sent it last month and there was the discussion about the special meeting.
looks like I'll have to call a special meeting to get it done. Because I didn't know it wasn't sent to Susan. I thought it,
I'll double check my email, but I thought I had sent it.
It was attached to it.
I might have gotten it, but nobody told me
Yeah,
that it was actually
I
going to
don't
go
even-
on the agenda.
I don't know what happened. I'll look into it. And I'll-
It was attached to a long conversation, and I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one last thing, the department updates, we had 3 of them tonight. A lot of information is thrown at us. Could we get reports written out like what you do for us from the department heads?
Or-
So that's in front of us? That would be so helpful.
I'll give another suggestion, maybe that they give everything to Tom, let him make the reports so they didn't have to give up their evening. I
That's
think-
no fun.
You know, I mean, if they give the reports to Tom and Tom gives the reports,
I could do that.
I don't see why we should mess up their evenings every 2 weeks. I really don't.
Well, it'd be so helpful to have that.
Thanks, buddy.
Susan, myself too.
Yeah,
What if you have a question for him though?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you could give it to Tom and he can get back with you.
No, I mean, I think that they should still come and make their reports, but we should have it in writing
Okay.
to go along with it. So that if there are questions, then they are here to answer them.
You have to be
You-
here.
you-
I always
that's
have to
good.
be here.
Let's move on to good order.
Hey,
Who-
Joe has a question.
I have a question. I'm listening to we're buying over $100,000 worth of equipment to operate in the city for various projects, which I know is important.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening to we're getting new police cruisers.
Yes, ma'am.
Where, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, where's all the money coming from?
Money is coming from the various funds and the money's already been appropriated. We're
Okay.
running through another ordinance type ordeal at the pleasure of council, okay? And 2 reasons, okay? First, we have the American Rescue Fund, which is money that's provided by the federal government because of COVID. And there's a very narrow guideline about what you can purchase with that. We're using the cruisers for that because there's a narrow process that can be abided by for drug interdiction in small cities. So basically, we're gonna get a command vehicle for the chief because the fire chief already has a command vehicle. It's a twofold purpose. In case this building was ever destroyed, we could move right on with what we're doing because we're fortunate. The leaders of this community, the leaders of our town already had the foresight to make sure that everything was basically transportable through the cloud. We have no physical servers, which is a blessing because while I was on deployment, I was able to answer all the phone calls, from this phone right here that came into the city. Second of all, we need undercover vehicles for these things that we're doing. So the second vehicle is going to be a fully dressed out police vehicle. And the third vehicle, which is a vehicle for my use in the city manager's office and the police chief as an undercover vehicle basically for drug interdiction. And if we don't use those funds within a year or so, then we have to return those funds. So that's where those funds are coming from. The funds for the backhoe and the dump truck basically have already been apportioned and appropriated for the use in the utilities department. And why is that? We've been blessed and fortunate enough to have a lot of grant money to be able to replace a lot of our aging water lines that have been in need of replacement for over 20 years, okay? I have tasked our service director now to be able to start doing small streets completely on our own. And of course, we need a backhoe and an additional dump truck to do so. So it will save us millions of dollars in the near future by being able to do a lot of that work on our own, okay?
I'm in full support of what you're doing.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just, as a citizen, wondered where we were getting this kind
Oh,
of money.
is it possible you could print that ordinance out?
Sure.
Because we could amend, we could amend the agenda to consider it tonight.
I have it actually open right here.
So another thing I'd like to mention, since the question was asked, is when our last state audit, Taylor can verify this, that we did very good with the audit, but we were lacking in one thing, hard physical assets. Our equipment is so old, it doesn't even register as assets anymore. In fact, it's working against us. And so, in any corporation, you take your assets, right? And that works into the equation big time with how our financials look. Basically, for what? for borrowing money, applying for grants, a lot of different things. So we gotta get our financials in order, basically, and we have to show people we're willing to invest and improve this basically as a business, and as a city, we have to do that. Okay,
I
so.
think it's important when you have this kind of legislation that you say where the resource for the funding is coming from, because
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, you know, how are we gonna pay for all of this?
But everything will be discussed openly.
Sure.
And
Betty
then,
Jo, I wanna just relieve your concerns. All this stuff happened when we weren't here. You know, a budget got passed and all that. Me and Tom had a conversation, and he assured me that everything bought from now on will be publicly discussed in council, and everybody will know
Sure,
about it.
we can do that. Even though things are
Thank you.
appropriated, things
Yeah.
specifically can be discussed, so the
Yeah.
council and the general public know how the money's being
It
spent.
would be
Yeah.
nice since we're the
Yes.
taxpayers and.
Yes, ma'am.
we're the
Yeah,
ones
Yeah, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, and we had this discussion, and from now on, when anything of a large nature is bought, of course, we gotta pay utilities and things like that, we don't wanna be,
Right,
but when something of large nature, Tom's gonna announce it in council, council's gonna be able to discuss it and do what they want with it, and everything will be open, and even the public will be able to comment about it,
and,
so.
and Taylor's
Thank
gonna,
you for the
Taylor's gonna have his full view of
Yeah.
the financial snapshot for you. But let me just give you a prelude of how this works, all right? And we'll take the wastewater treatment plant. It's a $24 million facility with grants and loans, okay? We've had grant and loan forgiveness for about 14 million, which was really nice. But we have a loan now for $10 million that we will be repaying over 40 years. Our first note will hit the books on January of 2025. And so with the foresight of council, they were able to pass an ordinance to raise the rates just enough, basically, to where we'll be able to afford the payment as it comes due in January of 2025. Same thing with our water lines. For many years, we haven't really improved our water lines, and we have
We'll just call it.
we have a debt that will come due, again, about the same time, and we'll have to start paying on those loans and balances now. If we're good enough and there's more forgiveness money down the line, we'll be able to get those debts completely wiped out. But in the meantime, okay, this is the kind of things we have to do. So we have to show that we have to have the assets to also take care of this equipment that we have in place now. And so we're gonna do that, and that's how that.
Tom,
Yes.
aren't the assets you're talking about saying that the older vehicles aren't even registered? Did that come from just being able to write them off and not being shown after that as an asset?
Yeah, like the vehicle that we have access to right now is over 30 years old. I think we nicknamed it the Red Rocket.
Well, Jonathan, one of the things that I want to get done is that not only that we find out what equipment we got, that we identify equipment that is no longer safe and needs to be
Yeah.
sold off or whatever. And that's something that committees are gonna have to do.
Right.
They're gonna have to go look at all the cars we own, decide whether they're worth keeping, and at that point, we need to come down to everything we own is in good operating shape and not a danger to people and things like that.
Right.
And so that's something that all the committees will be working on.
And also the city manager, that falls under his office.
Correct.
Sure.
Well, he would
I
be
don't necessarily think we're the ones that decide if we should keep or get rid of a piece of equipment. I think it should be up to the city manager and department heads.
Well, we should know what shape that equipment is.
We can always be very transparent, but we're gonna always do the right thing. You're correct. You're correct.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The grant that you talked about that's paying for the police cars?
Yes.
Are they paying for the entire amount, or are we gonna be left with another debt like we are with the water
The
plant?
entire amount. There's approximately 220,000 left in the American Rescue Fund. So we were fortunate to get 2 discounted cruisers, which were Dodge Durangos, which, by the way, the Ohio State Patrol is ordering 250 here shortly, so we were able to get 2 basically at a discounted price. They normally run for about $64,000. We're picking them both up at $43,000 a piece. The upfit for one will cost about $11,000, and the next upfit will be about $16,000. So we really did well purchasing those two. The undercover vehicle will be basically a 2023 Grand Cherokee L, they call it, which is the extended version. We're getting that for about $17,000 cheaper because it was in a rental fleet and there's about 5,000 miles on it. So that's come to us for a good deal also. So we're very frugal with the monies that we have available to us, but this is a time to be able to update our fleet and get everything squared away. The police chief and I have had a lot of talks about how do we update in the future. And we'll be updating in the future because with the budget that he has and the auditor we have and the treasurer have are very good at investing our monies. So if we can invest anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 a year on a total of 3 or 4 years, we'll be able to replace any cruisers in the fleet that we need to at that time. And we'll be discontinuing 2 cruisers as the new cruisers come in. So, I mean, with all that said, I mean, it's interesting how integral the budget is, especially with our police officers. We're very blessed to have the force that we have right now, and they've agreed to work at the wage that we pay them. We only pay them $19 an hour. Now, if you hadn't noticed, there's a big police shortage here in the United States. We have 1 sergeant that lives in Albany and 1 that lives in Sugar Grove. And we allow them to take the vehicles home because they're sergeants, of course, and they don't get much more pay, okay, than our police officers do. And they're in command of each shift, number 1. And I've often said to him, I know you live in Sugar Grove, which is not that far from Columbus, and if he wanted to get a job in Columbus, Ohio, he could instantaneously triple his pay tomorrow. So I'm glad he's still with us. So these are things we have to consider as we keep our forces in place, all right? Same thing with our firefighters. After coming back from my deployment in Florida, I feel blessed to have a fire department basically here in this town, because people wonder how we can do it being such a small community, because it keeps our rating so low. If you don't understand that, well, we're glad to explain how the ISO rating works for the insurance from your house, okay? Which I'm very grateful for what I have to pay for my home, especially after being down in Florida, where the average cost, because of hurricanes, $6,000 for not even a 2-bedroom home, which they've increased now to $9,000. I don't know how people that are retired in Florida are going to be able to afford homeowners insurance on their homes. So I'm very grateful for living here in Nelsonville and for what we have here as a service for all our community people to enjoy, and the prices that stay so low because we have the fire protection, the police protection that we do. So please, didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but I'll be trying to inform you more and more as we go on. We have contracts now that are up. So I'm currently working with all the unions and negotiating wages, all right? They've been asking for 10, 5, and 5, which means 10% this year, 5% next year, and 5% the following year. I'm offering 6, 5, and 4. And I think they're gonna accept those rates. And those are very good rates for this time period, okay? So I think it's gonna be a good thing for our service departments and our police departments and fire departments to be able to get a good, healthy raise. So there's more to come, good news, but there's just a lot going on right now. And with getting back to our trash situation, we have 1,250 units that we pick up each and every week. We could easily do that on our own with 1 packer. Yes, we do. We pay $235,000
We're not
a
in
year.
the trash business.
I don't want to be in the trash business, but here's the point. We pay $235,000 a year to Athens County, Athens Hockey and Recycling, okay, to pick up our trash. That equates to a little over $18,000 a month, all right? And so with that said, you know, if we put it out for bid and we get a good price and it's a comparable service, it's something we're gonna be thinking about doing. There's a lot of trash haulers in southeastern Ohio. Logan is not a franchised city. Only Athens is and Nelsonville is. We don't have to be a franchise city. At any time, we could have anybody come pick up our trash. The question is, where do we dump the trash? What landfill do we use? Rumpke owns the landfill. I don't know what the tipping fees are right now, okay? There's a lot of things to consider in this community where we dump our trash. I spent 1 year working for the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, okay? Interesting what Columbus does. Bumpy was the only one able to bid in Columbus, Ohio, because they were willing to pay that fee. Because Columbus has a law that anything that originates in Columbus ends in Columbus. That means they can't take the trash to any other dump or landfill but Columbus. Interesting, as I mentioned that to the Council of Government that we want to create here in this county, I don't think so. We're gonna have to really think about what we do and the services we offer and who controls what we do.
Well, that's the discussion for committee.
There's a lot of different discussions, but I think it's wise for the public to know that there's a lot of financial decisions that are really important right now to keep our city afloat. We're doing extremely well financially. Why? Because we've had a lot of good talent running the city for quite a long time. All right? We have. And at this point in time, I'd like to keep it that way with our investments and what we have. When's the last time we've had a police force that are made up of what, 8 officers, right? 8?
We have 9.
We have 9 officers, okay? And they're all very happy with what they're doing here, and that's very good. I
Is
mean,
that 10 total?
It'd be 10 total with the
Yes.
resource officer.
And so basically, with Devin's stats, and I wanted to really point that out, because look how well we're doing, okay? Basically.
Do we have authorization for 11?
We have the department staffing's 2 sergeants, 7 officers, 1 canine officer, 1 SRO, 1.
So we don't have a canine officer.
The canine officer, we have money encumbered for the canine officer, but at this time, to get comparable raises for the police officers, we have decided to forego the canine officer because we have access to the sheriff's canine, okay? At any time we want. I've already talked to the canine officer. And
All
the
right,
sheriff.
we have a lengthy executive session, so let's go to the good order. Do anybody wants to start? I'm not gonna.
Yeah, if there's any questions for the good of the order, I'll take questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start. So, at our last meeting, we asked for 2 legal opinions, one on mayor's court sessions and one on the code of conduct and council rules. Do we have those ready yet?
They're still in process.
Okay. Thank you. So, I guess the follow-up is, mayor's court is tomorrow or Wednesday?
It's 11th or 12th.
So how do we handle that? Do we have are you or the vice president?
The vice president's going to mayor's court training.
But that won't be in place for the next.
It'll be in place the 1st of February. I'm gonna resign as president, sometime, so a new president can be elected. And they'll be able to start mayor's court training in, mayor's court in February.
So how do we handle the next mayor's court session?
All our citations are still on the municipal court.
Our citations are still going to municipal court.
Okay.
I would much rather the mayor's court hired a magistrate and let the magistrate run mayor's court.
Actually, that's in the charter, so we need to discuss that further.
It's not in the charter,
Absolutely, it is in the charter.
Says that the mayor will be in charge of the mayor's court. It doesn't mean that he can't acquiesce to a.
No, it says
It
shall.
says the mayor shall preside over mayor's court and supervise the bailiff of court. The vice mayor shall perform the duties of the mayor when the mayor is absent.
It also says he will supervise the bailiff, which is now under the supervision of the chief of police. You know, if I had my way, I'm not a real big fan of mayor's court anyway, so
Well, that's a discussion that we have to have.
Yeah.
Because the charter is established.
But I intend on resigning and letting another person become council president by the time mayor's court starts operations, so.
So it sounds like that person's already been chosen then.
You know, I can just about bet you that Rita's gonna have the 4 votes, but that's, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one more thing that was brought up at the last council meeting about the discrepancy between the police chief and the fire chief. Is that going to be discussed and taken care of?
Tom's the one that brought that up with me, and that's going to be presented really quick.
Thank you.
Yeah. Then it takes a finance committee meeting, and we got to get one together.
I don't have anything for good of the order.
Anybody else?
No.
I wrote this down, so I said it right. I need a motion for executive session over ORC 121-22 to discuss the pending lawsuit with an attorney, to discuss the compensation of the law director, and discuss a personnel matter with the city attorney, inviting in the city attorney, Jonathan Robe. We're good there?
Mhm.
Good motion? Okay.
Well, we're inviting in the city manager too, correct?
I thought I said it, but maybe I didn't.
Good point.
Just
I said
clarify.
yes.
Yeah. I think I said, I don't know. Inviting in the city manager, Mr. Robe, and I think that's all we need, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom has information besides the cat.
Okay, so moved.
Second. Oh. You can go ahead and move the vote, I just have an update from Tom after the vote.
Okay.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen? Yes. Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
So, to the extent that the legal matter is dealing with Mr. Hunter's lawsuit, I was in a discussion with.
Yeah, we'll have to excuse him for that. yeah.
I have to recuse myself because that's a lawsuit dealing with the position that I'm currently seeking, and I don't think it would be appropriate to advise counsel about something that I could be taking.
Jonathan, we can't, by 121-22, we can't go in to discuss the pending lawsuit unless we have an attorney with us.
I have to recuse myself, though. I'm ethically obligated to do that.
Can we do it without it? I can just give the facts and we can,
I mean,
the attorney for Murminger can come down later. We can, it's up to you.
Well, you can just postpone it and do it another.
Yeah, I don't, if you look at 121-22, it says discuss with an attorney pending.
right.
Well, it
Yeah,
doesn't
but-
have to be this attorney, right?
That's correct.
We
Yeah.
can bring in a different attorney.
Actually,
as long as they can-
today I asked the insurance company attorney if he could attend by telephone on January the 22nd. So
Great.
maybe that's a better
Yeah, I think that's probably best.
solution?
I think that works.
Okay.
All right, do we need to amend our motion that we
Do we
just?
still need to meeting?
I'd like to go into executive session just for a few things.
Sorry, everybody's missing the game.
Well, you guys are more important, just so you know.
Okay, we need to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters in the police department and invite Jonathan in and the city manager in.
Okay, time out. What do we do with the last motion that we just,
We
accepted it, we took it, yeah.
we accepted it, well, let's vote it down. Call roll.
We already voted.
Did we vote it?
Yeah.
No, we didn't vote for that.
We didn't vote yet, right?
We did vote, everybody was unanimous, we just voted it.
Everybody voted.
If someone in the majority wants to make a motion to reconsider, then we can
Yes.
reconsider it and vote it down and then.
Okay.
All right, so,
Or you could amend the previous question to limit it to the,
One of the two, somebody.
Just do a reconsider.
Motion to reconsider?
Mhm.
Second?
Thank you.
Third.
so, okay, Jonathan, not a clarity if we're voting yes on a reconsider, does that mean yes, we're reconsidering it, or are we voting no, that it's
Have another
down?
motion.
yeah, you're voting to reconsider and then you'd have the motion to.
Gotcha, just wanna make sure, yep. So this is, yep.
Okay, Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Now a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters in the police department with the city manager and the city law director.
Sorry, going back now, we just voted to reconsider the previous one that we just passed, so we now need to vote on that previous
And then say no.
and say no.
Yeah.
Or you could move to amend.
I'll just vote on the reconsideration.
You're gonna
then
be
we'll
here
do
tomorrow.
another vote.
Figure it out.
So on the, okay. Yes.
We're calling on reconsideration, right?
So we already did the reconsideration, now we're re-voting on if we want to go into executive session for the previous reasons.
Right, so
Okay,
that
call
way
the
we
roll,
can all
please,
vote
there.
no.
Yeah, okay.
Done with it.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Mr. Clement?
No.
Smith?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
Mr. Flowers?
It's gonna stay that way.
Oh, we're on reconsideration. No, okay, I'm sorry, I changed the vote.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, I got this humongous headache. It's really.
Well, we're voting on.
You want me, what do you want me to do?
No, we got majority voted no.
Yeah,
so-
we got enough to say no, so.
Okay, now we need a new motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel in the police department with the city manager and the city attorney.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Ms. Wynn?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.